Hey, hello everyone. We're gonna give this a second try. The other day I recorded session 3, and because I had to take my camera off to get my SD card out, I forgot to plug the charger back in. And so I don't use the phone, my camera died, and only had about 15 or 20 minutes of I bet I probably went 45 minutes to an hour. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is this is the third adventure. If you saw my session 2 recap with the creation of the adventure, that's what I did in the last episode, was just go ahead and create it. I went ahead and I played it, and what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to walk through it and just give a review of what happened and tell you a couple of the changes that I made. When I from the time that I created the adventure to the time I got to play it, I let it roll over I kept thinking about it, trying to figure out some of the things that were going on, and how it, looking back at my maps, and just thinking about it throughout the day, about how I wanted to tie this together. And I didn't really like kind of the setup, and it was giving me a little bit of, with this banish the ritual of the Dwarven Lord, and then I was trying to figure out what does it mean what is this ritual of the banish the Lord, and then I rolled, with like stop justice, and I rolled a couple more things trying to find something that would really kind of be the glue that puts it all together. And so I ended up kept looking and decided in the ShadowDark book. I was flipping through and I was like, man, there's got to be something that can inspire me or something. And so I rolled on a rumors table, just flat up, page 120, 121 just has, rumors on it. And I thought, let me just roll on this. And just see if it gives me any inspiration, because I just really couldn't figure out a way to tie all this together. So I rolled a 41, and a Dwarven mining team has uncovered a tentacled statue. And that gave me an idea that that what had happened was a group of miners who are employed by Trojan. And Trojan, he owns the shop in the Low District. He's a stonemason shop named Imperial Coins. He has heavy bodyguards, and his interesting customer is a goblin pirate. This whole store right here is very interesting. And so Trojan has a group of miners that he hires that goes up into the mountains to find stuff for him and bring things back, and especially old Dwarven mines and everything. And he sent them up there, and that the goblin pirate is the one who takes his mine. They go on one of his ships, and as Lamachus went, he's the pirate, he's the goblin pirate, Lamachus of 6 fingers, and his ship is the Steel Moon. He went to go get them, and the miners, there was only a few, and they were very frightened because as they were digging in this one cave up in the mountains, they came across, I just said a tentacled statue. They came across some type of, I wouldn't say tentacle statue, they came across something evil, and that evil turned some of the miners into undead, and they started attacking each other, and the ones who got out and made it down to the docks, because the undead could not come out of the cave. So they got out to the gate, got down, I won't say to the dock, but got down to the landing area, and Lamachus picked them up and came back and told Trojan. And I thought that was just a better story of how to get the Ironbridge Rangers into this by using stuff, and I thought it was a better story. And so, but Banish the Ritual of the Dwarven Lord just thought that, because when I rolled gave me the thinking that, they came into some kind of maybe as they're mining, they came into some kind of tomb, and that tomb released an evil. And so, if you remember when I wrote up my map, though, I had my traps, my 2 solo monsters, and then my last was a Sorcerer Supreme. And so, a Supreme Sorcerer. And so it's always a problem when you create an adventure and you get something like a boss monster that's very strong, like Sorcerer Supreme, and you have 4 first level characters. So either you're going to have to beef up the party, you're going to have to give the party something that can help deal with this, or they could run. But really, is that what you want at the end of your adventure? That, okay, they made it to the end of my adventure and they're supposed to banish and stop this ritual, and they get to the end of there and they can't really do it because you have, if you're going by the book, and I'm trying to do all my monsters and everything out of the ShadowDark book. And so when I'm looking in here and I'm seeing some of these creatures, I'm like, to have a Sorcerer Supreme, even if I roll one up, a Supreme Sorcerer, he's got to have some levels on him. And, making a 3rd or 4th level wizard wouldn't seem like a Supreme Sorcerer to me. So I was like, okay, well, what can I have that's in my story that's already, that is, as I look back over my notes here, and I have this, this cursed keep, citadel of the cursed king up on a hill, and these magic items are starting to appear. And then I have this demon cult thing going on up at this other things. They're not related because I rolled on it. They're not related, but something is kind of going on here. And then between Mora, who runs the city guard, city watch, and stocks and pillories, and the Temple of Men, and we know I rolled on that, so the Oracle said yes, they're tied together. So you have that going on. And then so I was like, okay, so it's crazy. It seems like mythical things or supernatural things are going on around Ironbridge at this time. And so I thought, okay, I could play into that a little bit. So the miners find this ritual of the Dwarven Lord. Something went wrong, and so they have to somehow banish stop this ritual or fix what's going on, right? And so I decided, I said, well, I think I have a good idea for the ending, but let's just see. Let's see if my party makes it to the end. If it does, we'll let the story kind of play itself out. And so, the one thing about creating an adventure and knowing all the rooms, like you could roll each one if you want. If you want a complete random adventure, you could start at your entrance and you could roll the next room when it happens. And then you can do, then you will be, playing as you go type of thing, right? You could do that. I mean, still, when I'm doing this, it doesn't matter if they know what's kind of coming up. I still roll for a creature to have surprise, for an ambush. I still roll for those things. And even on one part on the mana hazard, the collapsing wall, I even roll to see, what happens if the wall, if it, by just rolling the dice, it gives me my random element that I need, right? So what happened is my group got there, the pirate, Lamachus took him there, and they come up to the entrance, a couple of the miners lead them up to where they were at, but they will not go back in. The party goes in, the first room is empty, and in it we found, I found some clues of what they're gonna face. I found a couple of dead miners. I found some holes in the wall that looks like creatures have been burrowing in, that burrow through the wall and stuff. And I've seen damage to the mine shaft and everything. So they could go through there to gain a little. And so the first thing they come to is a minor hazard, because this is an old mine shaft that we're in, and it had a short fall. And so what I did is I had a bridge over a short chasm crevice type of thing that the miners had built to go over, but it was a little rickety, and so I made it easy. They started to go across it, and they missed on some of their rolls, and so one almost fell in. They tied themselves together with a rope. Someone almost fell in, and they hit the wall, scraped themselves. I think they made like 1 point of damage, but they were able to make it through. And then the next one was a solo monster. And so because I had already planned it for my Mighty Brute was going to be a Ankeg So that burrowed out of the wall, and they fought. Then they were able to fight it until it failed a morale check, and it left. And so they left there. They went into the next empty room, and in the next empty room, they were able to started to see a little bit more burrows of the anthic, so they were on guard for them to pop back up. But they also started seeing semblance of spider webs, and then they also saw not only little tracks of the dwarfs, but they did see a set of footprints that were human sized. And so they go to the next minor hazard, which was the next area, which is a collapsing wall. And so I rolled to see. I had basically that the mining shaft was starting to collapse in on them, and they had to make a roll, and they did, and they made it through to the next area, which is a bunch of dense rubble. And so they had to crawl up over that. But here, with the collapsing wall, I rolled to find out, does the whole thing collapse, and they're trapped from this side of it, and it did. So they were on this side of the collapse, and then it had the dense rubble in this room, and they were able to climb over it and get through that. I made rolls for all these things. And then the next one was a solo monster, which is a mighty ambusher, and I had a giant spider attack them. I jumped and ambushed them. It was a pretty good battle. They were able to kill the spider. They really got some really good rolls last night. Again, this party, the Ironbridge Rangers have really, I roll everything out in front of you guys, except for last night when my camera's not working. But their rolls were really good. They just seemed to keep hitting. I think Imrid failed a magic missiles spell cast, I believe so. And then they get to the end. And so what I did was, when they came to the end, they come into the room where the miners had finally finished, and they could see that they'd broken somewhere into a part of some kind of dwarven tomb. And when they got there, there was already someone there, and that someone there was, I figured that Supreme Sorcerer had just got done defeating they come on right when he just got done defeating the undead dwarfs, and he was working on doing casting spells to stop this ritual. And they come in and they meet him, and Imrib recognizes him because the character that they meet is, every adventurer has to have if you're going to have the good old fantasy trope, you have to have your own mighty grand wizard. Every story needs a Gandalf, right? And every story needs an Alanon if you read the Shannara series. Star Wars needs his Obi-Wan, right? Or it's Yoda's. And so I said the Supreme Sorcerer is going to be an NPC who is going to be, I introduced y'all to Iron Cell earlier, who's the apprentice who is teaching Imrid how to be a wizard. Well, the wizard who trains Imcell is the Supreme Sorcerer who was here, and he had, as he was coming back, he'd been gone for over a year. I rolled, he'd been away for over a year, and as he was coming back through, he felt the presence. He's a mighty wizard, and so he was able to feel the presence of something going on, the evil, and he comes in and he finds out what's going on, but then he's starting to realize, almost Gandalfian in, I guess, a way, in the Lord of the Rings, he realizes something is going on in Ironbridge, and so he has come back. And so his name is Parun Korg the Bold. Parun Korg the Bold. He's a human, lawful, he's ancient, he's very tall, and he's widely recognized in this area. And so they meet Parun Korg, and so in order to get them out, they have a conversation. Parun Korg is glad to see Imrid. He had heard a lot about him, even though he hasn't done any training with him. Iron Soul has, but he is and the other Rangers kind of know who he is, but this is the first time they got to meet him. And so if you look under the Archmage in here, Archmagi, whatever you want to call it, he has Void Step, self and up to 4 willing targets can teleport. So what he does is, that's what they have their conversation, they figure out what's going on, he looks at what's going on, and he's kind of likes the fact that it already collapsed and there's a lot of debris, and so this, hopefully no one can get into this part of the backside of this dungeon chamber that they've run into, this dwarven chamber of this dwarven lord that had some kind of curse on it, and which he thinks it should not have been there. There's something else afoot, and so he teleports them past to the back. Him and himself, when they leave, they teleport out to get past the collapsed wall, the collapsed areas in the mine, and they get out and they head back to Ironbridge. And so that's how I did my adventure. They did lose. In fact, Inrib did get hit. Was it the spike? No, I think it was Ink that hit him. He did go down, but then when I rolled to heal him, I rolled a natural 20, so he came back up to 1 hit point. That was awesome. So again, my guys were able to survive. They had some really good rolls. They were able to banish the ritual. They'll get some reward from Trojan when they get back, but they did not find any treasure while they're there. I'm not letting them, even though it was a dwarven crypt, Perrin Korg is not going to allow them to steal from the crypt. And so, even though maybe Trojan would like for them to bring something back or whatever, but he also Trojan would be one that would respect his ancestors. So, they come back to Ironbridge, and that's where I'm in the adventure. So they come back, they're heading back to Ironbridge, because we'll see what the next adventure rolls up. But they're heading back to Ironbridge. They're in the company of Perrin Korg, and coming back to let Trojan know what was going on. So that's what happened. I'm sorry that I didn't roll my camera. I didn't have my camera rolling. Backwards. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to even film this until this weekend, but something happened and I had a little bit of time tonight. But that's the story. I'm so sorry I didn't get a roll, for those of you who like to see the rolls and me walking through it. But it's what, they made it through the adventure. The Ironbridge Rangers are on. I don't know if I told you that the reason I got an Ironbridge, I rolled Iron Rangers on the you can name a crawler or group, and I was like, oh, Iron Rangers. How's that going to work? And then I forgot, oh, you dummy, it's called, the place they're at is Ironbridge. So that's the case. That's what happened. And so again, thanks. I'm so sorry that y'all missed the rolling part, but that's how the adventure, they were able to do it. Got me a new NPC, a master wizard. We know that something's going on with the curses. I got a couple of plot threads going, and I'll just keep going. Like, I'm gonna roll the next adventure, and if I can tie it in to the 2 plot threads that I have going on, that's fine. If not, if it pops up something else, that just gives me more and more things that they can get involved in. Also, I had a couple of questions, because people asked me about this map that I have below here underneath. This is done by Runehammer online. This is it goes with his game, his RPG. Runehammer has done Index Card RPG, and then he did Crown and Skull, which is an amazing game in its own right, and it's very, very interesting. And he did Volume 1, and this is the map that comes with it. He just released Volume 2, so if you're interested in checking out Brandon's games at Runehammer, this is his beautiful map. It's absolutely gorgeous. And maybe one day on the channel I'll start playing a little Crown and Skull. But right now I just want to focus on ShadowDark. I probably won't play any other game until I get like probably 10 to 15 sessions in of ShadowDark, because I really, really want to go. I want people to come along for a while. I don't want to just a channel where I just do 3 or 4 things and then I jump to something else. I really want to keep it going because I want to show people that you can do this, that you can just sit down, roll up an adventure. You got your little world and you can solo. Also, not only is this good for solo, it's also good for whenever you get the chance to create your own dungeon, your own world as a GM. It's still good for that. But if you want to solo, just want to show you guys how. So again, thanks very much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.